The NFL draft is this week, and most of us have talked about our top 5s, top 10, top 15 players, position by position. But now I want to focus on some sleepers, specifically day 3 sleepers. Special thanks to our friends over at Underdog Fantasy. Thank you for sponsoring today's video. More on them a little bit later. But first player I want to talk about, and again, this is in no specific order, but it's Fadil Diggs out of Syracuse. He's coming in at 6'4", 259 pounds, former 4-star recruit out of the 2020 recruiting class. Played wide receiver and defensive end in high school. He was named New Jersey Gatorade Player of the Year. He is actually the brother of Fatim, who plays linebacker there at Syracuse. He initially was at Texas A&M, where he redshirted. He ended up playing as a reserve in 2021 and 2022. He got to start in 8 games, but then lower body injury knocked him out for the last 4. And he started 12 games in 2023 before deciding to transfer for his final year. Goes to Syracuse and started all 12. Had a solid season, 36 pressures, 8 sacks, a win rate of 13.4%. And he brings desirable length, close to 34 inches. And on top of that, he is exceptionally fast. If you didn't know, ran a 4.57 at the combine. He's doing that at close to 260. There are some desirable traits there. I think he plays low and with good leverage. He's a natural leader. He was a 2-time captain at Texas A&M. He was immediately a captain at Syracuse. He is talked highly about by multiple coaching staffs, and just sounds like he is a dude you want in your locker room. However, not perfect in run defense. He can set the edge, but he does struggle with arm extension, being able to peek into the backfield and then pursue off of that. So we're talking probably about a DPR type of player. The hand usage, while he's got great length, probably could use his hands a little bit better. His overall pass rush game plan needs a little bit of development, but length, speed, and he was productive last season. I wouldn't mind taking a shot on him, whether it be the mid to late day 3. Again, in such a stacked edge class, he could be someone who gets pushed down the board, but I'd be willing to take a shot on him. Next on the list, it's Jalen McLeod out of Auburn. Hopefully I didn't butcher the last name too much. I don't know why. Sometimes I hear it McLeod. It kind of is what it is, but he's out of Auburn. He's coming in at 6'2", 241. He is primarily going to be, I don't know, he's a bit of a tweener. He could end up being an off-ball linebacker. He could end up being a edge player, DPR, but he's got sub 33-inch arms, so you're probably using him more as a DPR. But former 3-star recruit out of the 2020 recruiting class, started his career at Appalachian State, where he did get 1 start, but it was a 2020 season, so Rona kind of screwed with a lot of the sketties that year. He did become a vital part of the rotation at Appalachian State in 2021, and then would decide to transfer the following year after only making 2 starts, but again, being used a part of the rotation. He ended up being a starter right from the get-go for Auburn, where he started 11 to 12 games, primarily as an edge player. And then in 2024, he was that buck linebacker role, where he would drop into coverage, but also come off the edge as a pass rusher. And his burst and closing speed is incredibly scary. I know he didn't test out. I imagine it would have been really good. You could go to the Missouri game. He's got a really good speed to power move, where that knocked Armand Membu, put him on ice skates for a second, and he's got better play strength than you would expect at that size. And downhill, he's just a bit of a pinball if you want to line him up in the middle as an off ball and have him blitz. He can bounce around and stay upright, locate and find the ball carrier. He had 36 defensive stops, which again, that's a metric that's very similar to tackles for loss, but it takes into account not just negative gains, but also plays that result in no gain specifically. So very active. Do wish the missed tackle rate was a little bit better. And again, he's in this tweener mold, so he's going to be more of a hybrid player His overall feel for coverage isn't quite there yet. I know he had a pass breakup, but we're talking about one pass breakup. For the most part, he's a spot dropper. He could get caught buying into the quarterback's eye candy. And in general, I wouldn't mind taking a shot on him late day 3, so 6th, 7th round area, just because he's gritty as hell. He's more well put together as a pass rusher, so you could probably find a role for him fairly early on. You like the NFL draft. Matter of fact, you love the NFL draft, which means you're going to love my draft guide. If you want to know every player your team drafts or even signs as an undrafted free agent, then this is for you. My draft guide updates every day, and you'll be able to see those updates in real time as I add new evals and player backgrounds. It'll have analytics from this year and last year. It'll have the pro day and combine numbers. It'll even have my notes from the senior and Shrine Bowl. It's a one-time purchase of $30 via PayPal, Venmo, or the Cash App. You can check out the pinned comment or the description if you want to follow those links. And when you do purchase it, please be sure to include your email because it is a Google spreadsheet. So I'm going to require your email. Don't make me hunt it down because I will hunt you down. I will find you and I'll make sure you get your money's worth. Anywho, thanks for supporting the channel. But let's go ahead. I want to switch to the offensive side of the football with Isaiah Nair, wide receiver out of Nebraska. He's 6'4", 222 pounds, and tested out exceptionally well. So he's got close to 35-inch arms, and then he ran a 4.4 40, utterly insane. Exploded out of the gym with 133 inches in the broad, 38 inches in the verts, also a good number. He had pretty solid agility drill numbers as well, whether that be the shuttle or the 3-cone. He actually ran the gauntlet drill at a very good pace as well. It's just he hasn't been very productive over the last couple of years. So let's just roll into the background real quick, as he was formerly a 2-star recruit out of the 2019 recruiting class. I believe he is 24. Yeah, he's going to be 24 heading into his rookie year, so an older receiver. He goes to Wyoming, where he redshirted his freshman year, only had one start in 2020, but then 2021 was the big breakout season for him, where he was second team All Mountain West. Decided to take his talents to Texas, the Longhorns. He was going to have a big role there, but then suffered a torn ACL in preseason camp. Lost year. And then by 2023, the Longhorns, they had a ton of talent at wide receiver, and he got lost in the shuffle, unfortunately. Ends up going to Nebraska and started 9 games, had a solid season. He did, wildly enough, I thought he was going to play another year in college football if he had the eligibility, if he could get another waiver there, but ended up deciding to declare for the draft, goes to the Shrine Bowl, and I thought he was the most physically impressive wide receiver during the practices there at the Shrine, because he's got speed, he's got very good hands as well, tracks the ball really well down the field. The play strength is good with him. You know, he's going to be someone that can go out there and at least not necessarily wash guys out of the run game, but he will hold blocks. It's just he's not that nuanced of a route runner. He does run a bit tall. He's not very dynamic after the catch. I think this past season, only 3 forced missed tackles, but that was on only 34 receptions. And just the college production outside of that 1 year at Wyoming hasn't really been there for him. So there are questions, and he is going to be more of a tools prospect. Like, golly, look at the size, the frame, the length, the speed that might be worth taking a shot on. I do want to stick offensively though here with Nathan Carter. Nate Carter, running back at a Michigan State. He's 6'9", 205 pounds. A guy that I will see in my comment section. And I gave him a watch probably about a month ago. Former 2-star recruit out of the 2020 recruiting class. Played running back, linebacker, and returner in high school. Started his career out as a UConn Husky. And the Huskies, they canceled their season because of the Rona, but then got 4 starts in 2021. 2022 was supposed to be, okay, hey, you are the bell cow now. And he started the first 4 games of the season. Unfortunately, had a season-ending shoulder injury. Decided to transfer following that. Started all 12 games at Michigan State in 2023. Started 10 games this past season. But he was really in the rotation. He wasn't the bell cow. He was just a part of a committee. And that's probably one of the biggest knocks to his game. A guy that's always the bridesmaid, but never the bride, right? So, which is fine for today's NFL. Teams, they like having deep backfields, deep running back committees. If you can get a star guy, then that's awesome. But I think there's going to be a role for a cat like Carter in the NFL because he's a phenomenal athlete. He ended up having 40 inches in the vert, 28 inches in the broad. He ran a 4.4 40, which exquisite. Love to see it. He's built low to the ground. He's low. He's strong. He keeps his legs churning through contact. He's patient, but a very decisive runner. He's never going to overstay his welcome in the backfield. Also a team leader. He was a captain in his final year with the Spartans. Got a lot of praise from NFL teams about his pro day interviews. There's a lot going for him right now. However, you go to the tape and he's got the good metrics. He's got the good low center of gravity. I don't think his contact balance is all that great, though. You look at his force missed tackle rate, which was fine this year, 0.23. That's a very fine number. It's not exceptional, but it is in about the average range. And when you do watch him on tape, he will get knocked off balance and go down to minimal contact, whether it's a defensive lineman just getting an arm in there to be able to knock him off that balance. But hey, credit to him, he's always pushing forward. If you're going to hit him, he's going to get some extra yards after that, even if he's going to hit the ground. Polished as a pass catcher. He ran a very basic running back route tree, a lot of screens, swings, occasionally just kind of drifting in the flats. But his career drop rate, his hands, relatively inconsistent at 11.1%. Don't love that. However, you do love the potential. And it really sucks that he's in a very stacked running back class, especially a guy with not a ton of special teams experience. Again, he was a returner in high school, but that was high school. That was like 5 years ago. But a guy that I think is worth taking a shot on at some point in the draft, whether it be mid to late day 3. Before we get into the next prospect, though, I do want to give a shout out to our friends over at Underdog of Fantasy. When you sign up, download the app and use promo code Broshmo. They match that first deposit up to $1,000 dues. Currently, they have the extender. Ooh, I know. Cool. But they have this for the NBA playoffs, and it's actually pretty dope, where you get a boost profit of 40% by using your game 1 token. And for as long the series goes on, you will get a boost. Like, take a look at this sucker. Like, look at that. I'm moving the wrong overlay. Regardless, if you get up to game 7, you have a chance at 100% profits boost. That's just utterly insane, utterly nuts. And it's not just basketball they have. Currently, they have best ball going on for the NFL. You could draft rookies right here and right now. They also have higher and lower on player stats. I love doing that type of stuff. I'm sure they're going to have higher, lower on draft props, which, hey, this is the week to do them, right? But as always, please play responsibly, play within your means. If you do download the app, you sign it up with promo code Broshmo. Let's go ahead. Let's move on to the next. And the next is Caleb Rogers out of Texas Tech. Offensive lineman. I think he probably profiles best at guard, but he might have center capabilities because, well, he played a little center at the Senior Bowl. This past season was primarily the right tackle and has been a tackle for most of his career. He was formerly a 3-star recruit from the 2020 recruiting class. Has always been at Texas Tech. Matter of fact, He started the final 3 games at left tackle in his freshman season and has been a full-time starter ever since, whether it was right tackle, left tackle. Matter of fact, 2023, he also practiced as the backup center if they needed him to step up in that role. In 2024, he primarily was the right tackle, but he also had starts at right guard and left guard. So versatile player, tested out really well. He had some of the best agility scores in this class. He's got really, really good movement skills. Not really talked about, I think, a ton in this class, which is quite a shame. He's also a team leader. Early in his career, he became a team captain, a locker room leader for the Red Raiders. He became a part of the captain circle his sophomore season, and he's also been very durable over his career. Again, someone who has been starting games since 2021 as a full-time starter. It's not even going back to the 3 starts he had in 2020. He does have that positional flexibility. I like him better at guard. Does have sub 33-inch arms, so tackle might be a long shot for him in the NFL, but guard and center, I think, is probably where he's going to do it. I think primarily wide zone blocking scheme. He's got really good movement skills, but you don't love the actual play strength. He ended up having 21 reps on the bench press, which it's not low. It's a moderate number, but you kind of want a little bit higher, but he's not a gap man blocking scheme type of guy. His functional play strength just isn't always there. There are times where he can be stunned by strikes. The hand usage, I think, is still a work in progress. Like, his hand placement could definitely use some more precision. That's probably the best word. I was gonna say decisiveness, but that don't make sense. Precision. He can be docile at the point of attack, but good frame at 6'5", 313 pounds. I got a 5th round grade on him. If he goes early day 3, I don't think that would shock me either. But we're moving on to one of a lot of people's favorite prospect here, and Sean. I've heard it pronounced Deloche. I've heard it pronounced Nolak. I'm going to call him Sean. Linebacker out of Buffalo. He's 6 foot, 221 pounds, and he was utterly phenomenal. I mean, phenomenal this season. I mean, I got a 5th round grade on him. I think I talked a little bit about him during my linebacker rankings. Didn't quite crack my top 10, but he was a walk-on, a 0-star recruit, where in high school he played running back, linebacker, senior season. He actually rushed for a school record, over 1,900 yards, three yards away from 2,000. And he also had a school record, 157 tackles. What? Setting school records as a running back and a linebacker. Love it. Since he was a 0-star recruit, he went to Milford Academy. He was named the Defensive Player of the Year there, and then transferred to Buffalo. Was primarily a special teamer the first season, but then snuck in 2 starts at the end of the year in 2021, was a full-time starter from there on out, where 2022, first team All-MAC. Unfortunately, he did have a season-ended shoulder injury in 2023, but hey, rinse and repeat. He came back. He was the MAC Defensive Player of the Year in 2024. He was a first team All-MAC in 2024. He had 5 interceptions, one being a very impressive pick 6. He is a very high effort, high production type of player, always around the football. I think he has the most actual tackles in this class with 152 this past season. 76 defensive stops is an extraordinary number. Just a nose to get to the ball carrier. A very good feel for zone. You never really catch him out of position. He does a good job of reading the quarterback's eyes. He'll break on the ball well. And I mean that, again, you just see that with his production and coverage last season. However, he does lack ideal size at 6 foot, 221 pounds. He doesn't really have many elite traits. If you were to ask me, 30-inch arms, not ideal. Did run a 4.63. That's a pretty good number for a linebacker. And his athletic traits, they're solid, but you're also undersized. I'm not surprised that you tested pretty darn well. And again, none of these numbers were really in like the upper percentiles. So there is some concern with maybe, I don't want to say limited tools because they're not like less than ideal tools. So I guess limited is the word. There might be some concern there. At least he's got a ton of special teams experience under his belt. I think he's got a high floor, at least as a special teamer. Moving on to the corner class, Mick Williams, corner out of Central Florida. He's 5'10", 202 pounds. I'm actually a big fan of him. I remember BJ Abrams. Was it BJ Abrams? Adams? I can't remember. The other Central Florida corner. He was getting a little bit of hype prior to the Senior Bowl. And I remember going to watch his film, and it was McWilliams that was standing out. I was like, holy moly, man. This guy's got such a great feel for coverage. And I have him higher than his teammate. I have a 6th-round grade on him. If he goes 5th, 6th, wouldn't surprise me none. He was a former 2-star recruit from the 2020 recruiting class. He ends up going to UAB, redshirt his freshman season, ended up making the Conference USA all-freshman team in 2021. In 2022, he played in 8 games with 7 starts, but he did miss some time in the middle of the year with an undisclosed injury and ended up starting every game his final year at UAB before going to Central Florida, where he did miss a game with, can't remember if it was a wrist injury. I can't remember specifically what the injury was, but he played well this year. And I know some of the numbers might not necessarily reflect that in terms of the ball skills, but he allowed a very solid completion rate of only 55.3% and only allowed 119 yards off of that. That's kind of the nutty number there. He is I think an adequate athlete, very solid, smooth mover, ran really fast, 4.4, 140 at the, I believe that was at the combine. And then his just general feel for coverage. He's got good zone eyes, and I like him best as an off coverage zone corner, or you can maybe play him in the slot. Some people maybe even like him as a potential safety, but I don't mind if you play a lot of off zone coverage. That's kind of where I want him at, because he does a good job putting himself in contested catch situations where he could either challenge the catch point or give the corner or give the wide receiver, the pass catcher, problems with making that type of catch. He's very feisty in the slot when he has been used. Like, he plays with way more energy there, which I think ends up being his best position. I really like him there in the slot, and might create more splash plays for himself too, getting him just closer to the football, closer to the line of scrimmage, or not necessarily line of scrimmage, but closer to the football. Does lack ideal size, but it's not bad by any means. There's a lot more. There's other guys. Honestly, I didn't expect him to come in at 202. That was a big shock to me. There is some plays where versus the run, you might be concerned with his effort. I think more of that was on the outside. And I think you could maybe mitigate that, because I don't think he's not going to be someone that impacts the run game from the slot, but he won't get washed out. He's going to at least be able to take up some space. I would love to see more splash plays, but this is a player I really liked on film. I'm not moving away from corner. I like some aspects of this corner class. I want to talk about Marcus Harris out of Cal. He's 5'11", 189 pounds, and I remember watching Noel Williams' tape, and Harris stuck out to me quite a bit. And that's not to take anything away from Williams. He had really good tape in his own right, but Harris was like, oh man, they have another guy here who's kind of good. So he's 5'11", 189. He was formerly a 2-star recruit from the 2019 recruiting class. He played wide receiver, defensive back, and returner in high school. He returned 3 kicks for tutties and 3 touchdowns for tutties, or 3 punts for tutties. That's 6 returns, and that was his senior season. Just that season. Kind of wild. So he might bring some return capabilities. I'm just putting that out there. He started his career at Oregon State. He ended up redshirting, but then decided to go to Idaho. quickly after he ended up playing in the spring season because they did cancel their fall season. But he was mainly a backup. He was a backup the following year in 2021. 2022 got his time to shine, started all 12 games, was a second team All Big Sky. 2023, it was rinse and repeat, started all 13 games, first team All Big Sky. He was like, okay, let me take my talents to the Power 4. He goes to Cal, where he had made 12 starts, played in all 13 games. Thought he had a solid year, allowed a completion rate of 55.2%. Did allow 4 touchdowns, but he had 6 pass breakups with 2 interceptions. He also was a solid tackler, a 7.1% missed tackle rate, very solid. And you watch his tape, this dude's got that dog in him. He just does. He just gets after it, whether it's scrapping and clawing at the catch point or coming up and trying to make plays in the run. He's got some big hits on tape, and he's a very slick athlete. And it's kind of reflected in his testing. He ran a sub 4.40, so he's very fast in a straight line. So you get him coming downhill. Watch out. You love that. Very explosive. Consistently at the catch point. If you look over his career, 30 pass breakups, 8 interceptions. You love to see it. It's just the size was a bit suspect on film for me. I'm kind of intrigued that he came up 5'11", 189. When it comes to his arm length, 30.25 inches, it hits the threshold. So I guess we're fine in that area. But in general, playing the ball, sometimes he'd rather play the hands of the receiver or just to try to play the receiver and like, hey, this guy doesn't see it, but I'm going to knock his pants off. I don't know why he would want to do that, but he does like the big hit. And I think he left some potential, whether it's interceptions or just pass breakups, plays on the ball. He left some of those out on the field. There are times downfield he doesn't necessarily get his head around. But again, because he'd rather play, if he's playing from behind, he'd rather just play the hands of the receiver. And if the receiver's got late hands, it's going to cause a delayed reaction with him. Also, I mean, when you have guys playing from behind down the field and they struggle to turn their head, you think, okay, maybe they don't have necessarily ideal length. And that kind of checks out. Again, he hits a threshold, but 30.25 inch, it's not great. But I like him in the 5th. I'd be willing to take him. Just give me someone with this type of demeanor on the field. Also, he's got a ton of special team snaps. And again, we could talk about had a lot of returns back in high school. I'm sticking with the corner class. Let's talk about Justin Wally out of Minnesota. I got him actually ranked right behind Marcus Harris. We got Wally coming in here at 5'10", 194. So you look at that size, you start to think maybe slot, but not so fast, my friend. When it comes to Wally, he was formerly a 3-star recruit from the 2021 recruiting class, played wide receiver and corner. He also participated in track and field as a sprinter in the 100-meter to 800 meters. His brother Jaden plays football at Mississippi State. His cousin D played football at West Virginia and actually played for the Minnesota Vikings and Detroit Lions. That's actually kind of nuts. So Wally shows up to Minnesota and actually gets 6 starts in the final 6 games as a freshman. Became a starter from there on out. This past season, he did make second team All Big Ten, but he did miss a couple of games with a knee sprain. And when it comes to the actual prospect, he runs fast, but the explosive scores, the agility scores, maybe leave a little bit to be desired. But when it comes to his tape, I like his press technique. I think he's a smooth athlete. He's displayed ball skills, 5 pass breakups, 2 interceptions. He had 11 forced incompletions this past season. He just gets after it in the run game. Really solid. I wish the tackling was a little bit better. Sometimes he just takes bad angles. Sometimes he's just not a clean finisher. 19.2% missed tackle rate over the course, or at least this past season. Can get a bit handsy. He had 7 penalties the last 2 seasons. I think just do a better job of trusting his athleticism because, hey, I'm not saying you don't have to worry about someone taking you deep, but you have the speed. You don't have to start holding. You have that recovery speed. rely a little bit on that. Wally, I have in that late day 3 area. I could maybe see him go in the 5th because this corner class is a little dicey on day 3, but he's a player I like and don't mind getting on day 3. Final player I want to talk about here, though, is Joshua Simon out of South Carolina. He plays tight end. He's 6'4", 247 pounds, formerly a 3-star recruit from the 2019 recruiting class. Ended up going to Western Kentucky, where he made 6 starts his freshman year. Started every game in 2020. 2021, he suffered a season-ending knee injury in the season opener against UT Martin, where he was putting on a show. I think he had like 4 receptions. 2 of them went for touchdowns, 73 yards. Ends up coming back in 2022, where he got 6 starts, but he played in all 14 games. He made second team All-Conference USA. He broke the school record for touchdowns by a tight end. If you didn't know, 14. He scored 14 touchdowns that freaking year. Decided to transfer. He goes to South Carolina, where he only had 4 starts in 2023. Ended up getting 11 starts this past season, and just played hella well, man. 7 tutties, over 500 yards. He's got a long and very explosive frame. He was put on the map for a lot of people because of his performance at the combine, where he ran a 4.6 540. He had 38 inches in the vert, 124 in the broad, relatively solid agility scores, and just insane length. 34-inch arms. That's in the upper percentile for tight ends. He's got a long and very explosive frame. He hits that accelerator exceptionally quick, gets top speed exceptionally quick, has displayed very solid hands over the course of his career, only a 4.8% drop rate this past season. His hand size is in the upper percentile as well, and he's got the ability in the open field to take it to the house in one-on-one situations. He can just rip it off. I mean, how many forced missed tackles did he have this past year? 9. That's not bad for 40 receptions for a tight end. It's not. So he can create. He can create separation just with his speed, but he's also got a mean stiff arm, and he has taken contact exceptionally well at his size. However, it is a bit more of a slender build. I wouldn't mind him put on a little bit more mass, especially with contested catches. I think over the course of his career, 39.3%. It's a fine number. It's not terrible, but you would probably like it a little bit higher, closer to 50 for your tight end. His route tree was very, very limited at South Carolina. He was basically just running up the seams, or he was used as the drag player on play actions where you just come across and you just dump it off to him. You could check this out in the A&M game and the Missouri game. While he feasted on those plays, you would like to see a bit more, bigger of a route tree. And that's why he's a lot of tools right now, a lot of athletic traits, and might be just more of a role-specific player early on in his NFL career. But maybe somewhere down the line, you could really find something with him because it's just so intriguing. But let me know who are some of your sleepers in this NFL draft class. That's it for the video. If you didn't know, we're streaming all 3 days of the NFL draft. There's going to be a ton, I mean a ton of content coming out during that time. I'm hoping to get my top, let's say like 200, 250 big board. I haven't decided how many. Maybe I'll go 300. I don't know. But I'm hoping to get a big board video out for y'all as we get closer. But as always, until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.